Hi, and welcome to the 5 Minute Mentor. I am your host, Tim J.M. Rohrer, and this is the show in which we teach mentors how to help their students solve their own problems through a 5-step, 5-minute process. During our last episode, we were talking about the number of coaching questions that a mentor should ask during the process, and the answer to that was 2 or 3. 1 is clearly not enough, and 4 makes it seem like you're hammering the student. And 2 or 3 is really going to be the right answer. You got to get them thinking, but you don't want to overwhelm them before you move on to the next step. This week, we got a question in from Connie from Covington, Kentucky, a beautiful city just across the Ohio River from the Queen City of Cincinnati, Ohio. And she writes in to say, what about clarifying questions? How many of those should I be asking? Well, before we answer that question, let's go ahead and remind all of our viewers of the 5-minute, 5-step process by putting it up. The first step is to learn about the problem from your student. The second step is to ask clarifying questions, which we're going to be spending some time on today. The third step is to ask coaching questions. The fourth is to either support the student's solution or to offer your own wisdom. And the fifth is to agree upon the action that the student will take and send them on their way. Okay. Back to the question about the number of clarifying questions. The answer to this is as many as it takes. Here's why. The last thing a mentor or coach wants to be doing is solving for the wrong problem. And this is very easy to do because the problem may be a skill-related challenge or it may be a behavioral-related challenge. And you have got to figure out which of those it is before you start asking coaching questions. So, for example, a skill-based problem is somebody who just doesn't know how to do something. So they may present it as, I'm having some trouble prospecting. Okay, well, as coaches, what we want to do is we want to believe that that is a skill-related problem. And if they just do these 3 steps, then they're going to be back on track. And we could be right. It could be a skill problem, but we just have to ask a few clarifying questions to make sure that it is. But let's say it's not a skill problem. Let's say it's a behavioral problem. We have to figure out which emotion is included in this behavioral issue. For example, your salesperson comes to you and says, I just can't do this anymore. My goals are too high. I'm too frustrated. I just feel like quitting. Okay, we need to unpack that with some clarifying questions. The goals are too high. There may be nothing that you as the coach can do about that. Maybe the goals are established by somebody else altogether. Maybe the same thing is true of the territory. The salesperson has a certain territory and that's their territory and there's nothing that you can do about it. So you want to ask some questions to figure out how they're feeling about this particular issue that they're bringing to you. It sounds like you might be pretty angry about your goal. Well, yeah, I'm angry because I can't make the money that I'm used to making. I can't achieve at the level I was achieving. I feel like a loser and I feel like the company is going to fire me. Okay, well, this is a very difficult problem for a mentor to be solving. And certainly you're not going to solve it in a 5-minute session, but you are going to have the chance to get the student to begin to solve it on their own if you can get them to recognize that this is an anger issue or a sadness issue or a frustration issue. In other words, it's a behavioral issue and the answer is going to be found within them and they are going to be the ones to solve it because probably what's going to happen is you're going to need to start looking at this challenge that they brought to you from a different perspective. And that's going to allow them to maybe then use some skills to solve for it after they've addressed some of the behavioral issues that are related to how they're feeling. So that's all the time we have today for the 5-Minute Mentor. If you have a question that you would like me to answer or you'd like to get in touch, just go to my website, timjmrohrer.com, or reach out and find me on LinkedIn. And until next time, let's get after it.